What's up, guys? Welcome back to another awesome weekly market forecast with me, Tremaine, guys. And in today's one, we're going to go through a couple of pairs, the DXY, AUDCAD, Aussie Swiss franc, AUDJPY, and New Zealand dollar CAD, guys. So please do forgive me. I am a little bit under the weather, so my voice will kind of be a little bit scratchy. I might sneeze or cough here and there. But nonetheless, guys, we're here to work. We're here to get things done. So let's jump straight into the analysis and start off with what we have here on the DXY. So looking at the DXY, guys, we're on the daily chart, and from a daily, what we can observe is that price is or close to this sell-sensitive area. Obviously, we've got some resistance there. We see prices coming in, giving us some support, giving us some resistance, and then pushing down. So we see prices coming towards this resistance area over here. Obviously, a nice, beautiful sell-sensitive area. Now, what we've done for ourselves is we've observed in the current price action, how is price approaching this area? So first of all, we did observe that price came here fairly impulsively, but after we've seen this impulsive momentum towards our resistance, we've seen prices entering some sort of a consolidation or a consolidating market. So we've seen prices basically moving to the side. So now that we've got this corrective structure, we understand that this corrective structure can only be one of two things, either a continuation structure, obviously for some upside momentum, or we would have a reversal structure for obviously some downside momentum. Now, considering that prices are at or coming to some important sell sensitive areas over here on our left-hand side, so some higher time frame resistance, guys, it makes a lot more sense for us to be sell biased on the DXY. So from a daily, what we can see is that we've established this resistance trend line and as well as the support trend line over here to get an idea of where is price action and where could we potentially complete. So going down to our 4-hour, what we will get is obviously a little bit of the nature in the price action, and I guess just some context regarding that. So what we do have here is obviously this price action that has shown us our beautiful corrective structure. So within our corrective structure, we've got these extreme highs over here. So obviously this extreme high, and then we do have a lower high in this area over here. So what I've done for myself is I am going to use these resistance areas here to manage my bias. Now, what I'm expecting to see is I am expecting to see prices pushing to the upside to violate some resistance areas. Once we have violated these resistance areas, guys, that is when we start to look for either our reversal structures up top. So no matter how these structures form, if we do see a reversal structure up top, then obviously this is where we're looking for our risk entry. Otherwise, guys, if we don't have a excuse me, guys, please do excuse me. If we don't have, if price does not give us a nice, beautiful reversal structure up top, what we will be doing to obviously just manage this bias is waiting for price action to literally just retest previous levels of structure, which is obviously in this case, our previous level of structure over here that prices did obviously break above and break back below. And obviously, once we come back and retest these previous areas, we will be identifying and looking for things like nature's theory that obviously do give us a opportunity to enter at a reduced risk. So simple enough, guys, we're still expecting that sell bias momentum from the DXY. What we're going to be waiting on seeing is either if price action or after price action does violate these highs, do we get a reversal structure up top? If we don't manage to find a reason to execute for a sell bias trading opportunity, then what we wait for is for prices to break back below our level of structure and then obviously come back to retest this level of structure. Once we have that criteria, guys, we're good to go. So that has been the DXY, guys. Let's get into our next pair, that is Aussie CAD. And we'll start off on the daily with some Aussie CAD. So guys, from a daily or even from a higher time frame perspective, I will also be able to quote some of the structure over here. So guys, basically from a higher time frame perspective, like for example, a weekly chart, what we have is prices coming down, giving us some support, giving us some resistance areas over there. So a resistance area, and then we have this new lower low, and we see prices breaking up back above. So we basically see prices giving us some sort of an extended W formation, coming back to the neckline of this W formation, and then obviously we expect some continuation in the direction of this momentum that has recently broken some resistance, important high time frame resistance areas. So we're expecting prices basically to follow through to the upside, because why? We're at this previous retest area, previous resistance that can now function as support. And if we take a look at just the most recent price action, we'll obviously get an idea as to what is the nature of price action doing. Now that we are approaching that previous support structure over there, we can obviously see that prices are approaching in some sort of a corrective manner. So now that we're being corrective coming into our previous level of structure, what we will do is isolate a descending structure, or isolate whatever structure we do see on our charts, which in this case is a beautiful descending structure. Now, also what we do have in this descending structure is that at our third touch, we've obviously seen prices breaking below and breaking back above our levels of structure. Now, for reference, guys, we do have these important daily areas over here. So previous support structures over there that obviously prices have violated below and broken back above. Now, simple enough, guys, you guys know the steps that we look for. We just wait for a nice, beautiful retest of our previous level of structure. And then obviously we find or try to find our bullish bias entry criteria. So let's drop down onto the 4 hour and then obviously just discuss some nature in price action and see where our next setup might come from. So let's just delete this over here in the corner so that our charts are not too cluttered. Now, coming to our most recent piece of price action, guys, absolutely beautiful stuff here. So we can obviously see this beautiful downtrend that has been going on there. Prices giving us lower lows and lower highs. Conclusion being, these are our previous support structures over here. Obviously, these are our previous resistance areas. Now, what we can see is prices breaking above our previous resistance areas. So giving us a beautiful sign of strength. Now that we have now that we have this potential change in trend, now that we see prices finally starting to break some resistance areas, what are we expecting from price? We're expecting price to give us a higher low. So not a low that exceeds this low, but a low that is higher than this previous lower structure that price has formed. So guys, simple enough, we've got our nice, beautiful, almost continuation flag. We've seen prices giving us one support structure, pushing away, coming back to the support structure. So all we're waiting for is either for prices to break below, give us our first reaction from this entry area over here. Obviously, if we don't find a beautiful reaction from that area over there, we wait for prices to push back above our level of structure and then obviously retest our level of structure. If prices have the agenda to push a lot lower and react from a lower support structure, guys, these are the last support regions where we'll be looking for that bullish continuation. Once we find that bullish continuation, if we don't find an entry in this area over here, then obviously we'll be observing prices for previous support structures, wait for prices to break back above, and then correctively retest those levels of structure for our bullish momentum. Trading bullish because we've got a beautiful sign of strength here, prices breaking above our resistance areas, and as well as higher time frame corrective structures over there towards our bigger higher time frame support structures over there, and as well as we have confidence of this beautiful descending structure that at our third touch has given us a false breakout, and then we've basically seen that momentum following through to the upside. So what we want to do is we want to trade in the direction of this recent momentum, putting together all of the reasons that we have on our chart based off nature's theory. And now that we've done that, guys, we've got our beautiful forecast. All we need to do at this point is just wait for prices to pull into our key value areas, which we will then start to begin to look for our entry criteria. So that is AUDCAD, guys. Let's go on to the next pair that we can have a look at, and that is Aussie Swiss franc. So guys, on Aussie Swiss franc, if we go up to a daily, what we will see about the nature in the price action is that we do have this nice, beautiful corrective structure over here. So clearly enough, we see momentum pushing to the upside. We've got some previous higher time frame support structures in this area over here. So obviously we can see that prices have been descending towards this previous support structure over here. We've got a beautiful first touch of structure, nice second touch of structure, nice almost third touch of structure, but nonetheless, we've got to move away from our level of structure. If we come to the most recent price action, what we can see about our support and resistance is that prices have created the support. Obviously, we've seen prices breaking below and breaking back above that level of structure. So simply enough, guys, because we've given our potential third touch of our structure, when we drop down onto the 4 hour, we're going to be observing that nature in price action waiting for our bullish biased setups. Simple enough, guys, we've got our level of structure in this area here. All we need to wait for is for prices to first of all violate our support structures. Once we've violated these previous important support structures here, if we don't find our entry from these levels over here, simple enough, we wait for price action to give us momentum back in our direction and then obviously correctively retest our levels of structure. And once we've seen a beautiful retest of our level of structure, guys, we're looking for our upside continuation. So guys, bullish bias on Aussie Swiss franc for next week, just because of obviously our high time frame structure, fact that prices are correcting around our previous support structures, which we've marked out over here. And then obviously just because we've most recently also broken above these previous resistance areas. If we just take a look at this nice beautiful 4 hour downtrend, we've got some support, then obviously we've entered some sort of a corrective structure over here. So we've just most recently broken above that corrective structure, obviously giving us a sign of strength, because we are now starting to see prices violate some resistance areas, which we know are characteristics of an uptrend. when we see prices violating resistance and creating higher lows. So simple enough, guys, that's exactly what we're looking at. We've seen prices violating some resistance. So all we're waiting for, obviously, is for prices to give us a higher low. So we're not expecting prices to come and exceed this low down there. Please do excuse me, guys. Let's go on to the next pair that we're going to have a look at, and that is AJ. So guys, on AJ, things are slightly just a little bit different in terms of our directional biases for these AUD-based pairs, but nonetheless, let's get into it and start off on the daily. So guys, what we can see from a higher time frame perspective is simply AJ, let's just get this drawing tool, is simply just that AJ has obviously come down from these areas here, created some resistance, obviously came down, created some support. We've broken above this resistance, we've broken back below the support. We've obviously come up to retest this previous level of resistance that we've broken above, obviously, and broken back below. And now we'll see a downside continuation. Now, if you guys can see, we've got a small, awkward looking head and shoulder structure that's forming in our most recent price action. So where can we expect any downside momentum to want to terminate? We can expect any downside momentum to probably terminate either at these support structures here or at this last final support structure over there. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing, guys. We want to trade this recent downside momentum that we've obviously been seeing. We've also seen prices breaking back below this level of structure and obviously beautifully retesting that level of structure. So when we drop down onto the 4-hour, we're going to be observing things like nature's theory to find out where can we trade this bearish directional bias that we've established from the daily. So guys, simple enough, what we do have here is some previous or rather actual support structures here. We can see this market rejecting from these support structures there. But nonetheless, guys, you guys can clearly see a nice, beautiful potential head and shoulder structure. Where we've got our left shoulder, we've got our nice head, and obviously we can expect prices, and especially if prices do come and correctively retest this previous resistance area, that will be added confirmation and obviously confluence for us to begin to look for that downside momentum. So simply enough, guys, on AJ, we're looking for some downside momentum. We've got previous resistance here that prices obviously have respected, broken above, broken back below, and what we're looking for is for prices to come back to this key value area and obviously give us signs of rejection, followed by a momentum shift away from this area, which is then obviously going to be a beautiful point of interest from a 4-hourly perspective for us to trade any downside momentum that we do see over here, sending prices lower. So on AJ, guys, we're kind of trying to trade with the trend and obviously give us an opportunity, give ourselves an opportunity to catch any AUD weakness, if there is any AUD weakness on these pairs, because we do have a bullish bias on AUDCAD, which is us trading some AUD strength. We also do have a bullish bias on AUD Swiss franc, which is us trading some AUD strength. Now, obviously, to hedge our biases and to be able to capitalize on trades in both directions, we see the potential for some sell biased trading opportunities. So hedging some AUD strength or weakness. Now, guys, let's get into the last pair that we're going to have a look at for this week's morning weekly market forecast, and that is New Zealand dollar CAD. So we'll start off on the daily and we'll be very quick because structure similarly resembles our AUD CAD. So looking at things, guys, from a daily perspective, what we have here is some beautiful momentum pushing to the upside. So what we see in this nice, beautiful momentum, obviously there is a nice trend that's been happening over here, but nonetheless, what we do see is prices violating some resistance areas, so giving us a beautiful sign of strength from a higher time frame. Where are we right now? We can obviously see that prices are at a support structure that we have tested twice. Where are we right now? We're at the third touch of that support structure. Now, if we drop down onto the time frames and obviously just zoom in a bit and observe what's been happening here, what we can see is obviously prices establishing a beautiful, nice and solid support structure over there, and then finally violating the support structure to the downside and breaking back above our structure. So obviously showing us some corrective price action being made around these support structures over there. So now obviously, guys, because we've seen we're at support, we've got a nice beautiful reaction from prices at the support. When we drop down onto the lower time frames, we're going to be looking for price action to support a bullish bias. So here on the 4-hour, obviously what we do see is we have isolated whatever downtrend had been going on here. So taking into account our resistance there and as well as our resistance here, we see a beautiful downtrend from NZDCAD. What we've also seen is this downtrend being violated to the upside, obviously by prices violating our resistance trend line. What we also see is previous support structures, prices have violated below, broken back above. Now, signs of some bullish biased price action. Now, simply enough, guys, because we violated this nice, beautiful corrective or descending structure to the upside, we've established one area of support. All we need to wait for is for prices to come down, violate this area of support. If we don't manage to find an entry anywhere down low, then simple enough, guys, we wait for price action to break back above our level of structure, come back to retest, and then we look for our bullish biased price action. So simple enough, excuse me. So simple enough, guys, on NZDCAD, what we're doing is we're looking for a beautiful bullish bias, waiting on that flag, waiting on that break and that retest, no matter what it is to give us that bullish bias entry. But as long as prices are above this resistance trend line, we can look for our bullish bias trading opportunities. Obviously, our point of interest is this level of structure here, which is our previous, we can see there's some sort of a awkward double bottom structure. So previous neckline that has not been retested by price action, which is obviously a beautiful key value area where we could look for that corrective price action to retest from there, obviously react from there. So we've got a beautiful 4-hour point of interest, and as well as we have a bias, nice, beautiful bullish directional bias. All we need to do on NZDCAD is wait for price action to provide to us an entry setup that aligns with this directional bias, and as well as whatever entry criteria we have as traders, guys. So we have reached the end of this weekly market forecast. I do appreciate you guys for bearing with me until the end. It has been difficult. I've wanted to cough and sneeze and do everything under the sun throughout this whole YouTube video, but nonetheless, you guys have stayed until the end. I do appreciate you guys. Otherwise, if it's your first time on the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. If you're a returner, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching until the end. I will see you guys in the future videos, guys. This is Tremaine, your FX Tracer's mentor. Have a great week, guys. Cheers.